Win as one. EA Sports FIFA 21 sponsors Saturday Social.
Right, we're going to start the show with the first item of the show. This has been fused or brought about, shall I say, by a tweet from our guest, JaackMaate. You inspired us, Jack. When you tweeted this after the Merseyside derby, you said, "Are Liverpool the worst champions the Premier League has seen?" Followed up with genuine question. Now, great engagement. I expect nothing less from you, my friend. 26,000 likes. But the question I want to ask you is, what was the reaction from Liverpool fans for that? How did Liverpool fans react?
I think they want to do horrible things to me, Smithy. They want to see me crumble. But to be fair, the fact I finished that with genuine question was just to wind them up. Like Lawrence McKenna, he's another YouTuber. I saw him almost crying about that question on one of his shows. So I thought, I'll chuck that question out there into the ether and see what I get back. And it divided a lot of people, mate. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it was clever, the last part, genuine question. I saw what you did with that. But to be fair to you, you're not the only person that has been quite vocal about Liverpool this season. A lot of pundits, a lot of fans have had their say, including Sky Sports' Roy Keane. Have a listen to this.
I think maybe they've all believed the hype over the last year or two. And we spoke about there'd be some sort of drop-off but they're playing for a big team in Liverpool. It's as if they won the league last year. They've all got a bit carried away and they've all believed their own hype as if they're going to be teams. But in my mindset, when you won a league title, your next challenge was always, can we do it again? You could say this is a one-off. It's a freak season. It's Corona. Just get on with it. Perform like champions. You're Liverpool Football Club. Well, keep performing like that. It'll be another 30 years before you win the league title. Trust me.
Talk about Jack winding people. I think Roy was on the wind up there as well. Another 30 years till we win the league. But I think it's fair to say there has been quite a lot of banter towards Liverpool fans online about the perceived drop-off. We can have a look at some of the worst title defences at this stage of the season now. So as you can see, at this stage of the season, so after 25 games, Liverpool are 33 points worse off. So we've ranked these in order of points drop-off. Liverpool have the worst. Then we've got the Leicester side in 16-17. They were 32 points off. Then Chelsea, then Manchester United. So we're going to focus on those four sides, really. Liverpool, Leicester, Chelsea, and Manchester United. We're going to discuss each one, really. I want to start by chatting about Manchester United. That David Moyes season, where he was given a 6-year contract, the chosen one, as many Manchester United fans chose to call him at the time, but they were 9th after 15 games. I particularly remember 82 crosses happening against Fulham, and then a Grim Reaper being spotted behind him at Goodison Park, pretty much summing up the end of David Moyes' time. Carl, I want to come to you on this one. Manchester United 13-14 under David Moyes. What are your memories?
I mean, it was the beginning of the crumble, the demise of the mighty Manchester United. For so many years when I was growing up, I had to watch United win European trophies, watch them win Premier League titles, FA Cups, and then Sir Alex Ferguson leaves, David Moyes comes in, and Manchester United fans, don't get me wrong, what they did was incredible for so long. Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest manager to ever manage in the Premier League, but then we see over the next 8 years, that was the beginning of it. And I think that they fell back down to ground and they hit themselves quite hard that season. 82 crosses against Fulham. Now, Fulham fans, don't get angry at me, okay? But you're not Manchester United who have just won the title. So you're looking at that and you're thinking something's not right here. 8 years later, have they improved? Slightly. Have they won any Premier League titles? No. So, I mean, you've got to surely say they were the worst because it's been happening for so long and they've not managed to get back up there.
Oh, Carl's gone early there. I have to say, you mentioned some really good points there. And obviously, David Moyes is now West Ham manager, Jack. What are your sort of thoughts on that Manchester United side back then under David Moyes? Was it just horrendous or was Moyes not the right man?
Well, I can speak from experience, mate, because I was, when we got Moyes back at West Ham for the second time, I was the first person to slag him off. On social media, I was moaning about him like everyone else was. And he's proven me wrong. I've got so much egg on my face right now. So I think maybe he just didn't have enough time. A 6-year contract, I mean, he probably walked into that job expecting at least half of that, didn't he? And what did he get? How long was it in the end did he get?
Well, he basically got sacked as soon as we couldn't make the Champions League places statistically. So as around sort of March, April.
Yeah, it's mad. So I don't think it all Moyes' feet. But then I'm only saying that because West Ham are doing all right. So it's completely irrelevant. My opinion is irrelevant. I have no idea how I got a second gig on here. How am I back on this show? I'll take it.
Well, Jaack, your opinion isn't irrelevant because we're going to come to you again and get your opinion on Chelsea because these are the next contenders for worst Premier League champions. Again, based on that graphic we saw earlier of points difference. So you can see Chelsea are in third place in terms of the worst points drop-off after 25 games. So they won the league by 8 points in 14-15. Eden Hazard was ripping it up. In August 2015, Mourinho signed a new 4-year contract but was gone by December. And as you can see, 29 points drop off after 25 games. Bit of context, losing 9 of 16 Premier League matches, and Mourinho was gone in December. They only picked up 11 points in their first 12 games. They ended up finishing 10th. A massive 31 points behind the winners, who famously were Leicester City, and Hazard, who was unbelievable the season before, only scored 4 goals in 31 appearances. So, Jaack, you've spoken about one manager there. Mourinho, at the time, were you surprised to see Jose leave Chelsea for a second time?
Not really, mate, because that's kind of what happens at Chelsea, isn't it? I mean, they just got rid of Frank, who's their baby. So, yeah, not really. I think that was the season. See, this is the thing you'll discover really quickly, lads. I always just bring this back to West Ham because I'm in a very much claret and blue bubble. I think that was the season when West Ham beat them quite early on. So it must have been pretty horrific for Chelsea at the time. But how many? What was that? How many points? What was the drop-off? 29?
29.
29.
Not quite 33. Not quite 33, is it? So are Liverpool the worst champions? I'm still going to put it out there. Bring the tweets on.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay,
I actually think maybe this Chelsea team actually is probably my worst. I think because they're only on 30 points, like it's so low. Like Liverpool, we're going to talk about and come on to in a bit, are at least like 10 points clear of where they were at this stage. Chelsea. Let's crack on then. Do the next side, Leicester. I feel like this is a little bit harsh having Leicester in there, but we've got to talk about them because they're in this drop-off candidates list, but they weren't expected to be there in the first place, right, Kyle? So is this one a bit harsh?
I think it is, yeah. I feel like we look back at the Leicester winning the Premier League and you do talk about it in such a positive way because it was incredible what they managed to do. Who would have thought that Leicester would have been able to do that? And who thought they'd be able to sustain that? Nobody. So we are talking about them like this, but let's try and focus on the positives, the fact that they won the Premier League. And I didn't expect them to then win it again and retain the title next season or even be in the top 4 because it is so hard. And now, if you actually do look at Leicester, where they are, joint second, is it? That's what United fans like to use when they've got the same points, isn't it? So they've got 49 points, the same as Manchester United. So we're seeing a team that have built on that Premier League win. Yes, the next season they didn't do too well, but they've managed to establish themselves as one of a top 6 team now, not the traditional top 6, but I can't see Leicester under Brendan Rodgers especially now moving out of that top 6 position for the next few years. I feel like they've built something really, really strong, and it all started with that title win. So yes, the next season they didn't do too well, but if you look at them 6 years later, they're still up there. They're still in the conversation for finishing second, third, top 4, definitely. So I feel like that is definitely some positives to take from it.
Okay, some good points there made by Kyle. Fair points. Let's talk about Liverpool then, because the final team, Liverpool, which I'm going to come straight to JaackMaate to in a minute. So get your answer ready, Jaack, because I really want to get your thoughts on this. Now, they have the biggest points drop-off, as we've seen, after 25 games in Premier League history. But it's worth taking into account, as we said, they had a huge 99 points when they won the league last season. Jaack, multiple injuries to key players, no fans in the stadium, a crazy schedule. Are any of these factors changing your opinion about Liverpool, or do you think that they have been the worst Premier League title reigning champions in history, should we say?
Well, firstly, they like to moan about Van Dijk, don't they? About he's injured, so that's why they're falling off. But I'm pretty sure he was playing against Villa when they lost 7-2. So I'll just throw that one straight out there. And secondly, whether they are the worst champions or not, I'm going to stand by it because I love to wind them up purely because of how arrogant they were about it last year. Like, sure, they smashed it last year, and arguably the season before that they might have been even better in terms of on the field. But so hear me out. So Liverpool fans, they're like if JaackMaate wins a scratch card, right? So when Leicester won the league, they're like your skint mate that's won a scratch card. You're like, oh, I'm buzzing for you, mate. I'm buzzing for you. You got a tenner in your pocket. Crack on. Liverpool, they won the scratch card last year, and now they've lost all their money, and it's our turn to be like, so you should have been so cocky about it, should you? Do you know what I mean? That's my analogy. I don't know if it works, but I'm going to stand by it. Move on, Smithy. Pretend it never happened.
Okay, so Jaack has gone with Liverpool very quickly, Carl, because time is of the essence. Who do you think are the worst Premier League reigning champions?
I will just quickly say they got 99 points, but it wasn't quite 100, was it? I'll just throw that one out there. Manchester United, it was the start of the demise. It's where they started to crumble. They've never managed to get back to that level of winning Premier League titles, so that was the worst one for me.